Hi, so for the last few months, I've been hosting a show where drag queens play Dungeons & Dragons for a live audience. I asked the queens what it's like to play D&D in drag, and here's what they said.
I never really saw myself as a D&D type of playing person, and I totally fell in love with it.
I actually had never played Dungeons and Dragons before.
I had no idea what to expect when I was invited to play D&D in drag. I had some limited experience before that with Harlot. We had started a campaign.
I remember my favorite part playing D&D as a kid was being able to sit down and let my imagination run wild and draw the characters that I was playing or my friends would play, which really interestingly kind of led the way into me starting making costumes and doing drag.
Drag definitely makes me feel like super powerful. Like, you kind of just put on this mask and you walk out and you say, "Watch out, world, here I am."
When I first started doing drag, it started from character illustrations that I would do of badass, powerful comic book women. And so they kind of merged into one and have bled over into each other's territory with influence, for sure.
Drag and D&D are similar because you're kind of putting on this like whole fantasy character role.
So in terms of similarities between the Dungeons and Dragons game and doing drag, there's the most obvious one, which is assuming the role of a character. A lot of folks, when they make their drag characters, they have this incredible detailed backstory, and you have your strengths and weaknesses, and you show up to the party with all of those in tow. And that's exactly what you're doing with Dungeons and Dragons. You have the things that you're good at, you have the things that, you know, when you roll, you could get minus, and that's okay, you know. But you bring you and your own uniqueness to the table, and I think that's something that both of those share in a way that's really cool.
Coming into a D&D kind of setting with especially this and how big it's become, it was a little scary because I had absolutely no experience. I kind of knew what to expect, but I wasn't sure really what to expect, and I was actually floored by how cool it was.
So going into this project, I was expecting to play a game that had tons of cards, and there's like this gigantic like room filling board with like chess-like pieces and all of these props that you have to use to get involved. And the way that we've been playing it, it's just it's been sparking our creativity because you're asked a question and you just make something up and go along with it. Of course, obviously with your character in mind, but just by speaking something into existence, you can open up a whole new avenue of possibilities along with the Dungeon Master. And that's something that I hadn't expected before. It almost feels like an improv game a lot more than your standard board game, which really appeals to me.
Everyone is in their own little like imaginatory world where we're all in the same setting, but it looks different to everybody. So, you know, one person will say one thing and you just gotta go with it. Something's gonna happen, you gotta go with it and just keep going and take it there.
It's just another way to flex your improv muscles and to just go with the flow and go roll with the punches and, you know, just try to keep it funny and stupid and entertaining.
I fell in love with D&D just with our group. I loved it so much because I spent way more time laughing than I did imagining.
So what I love about playing this game with drag queens is we have our own sorts of coded references that we have that are inside jokes as drag performers. And I feel like Dungeons and Dragons has its own sort of inside jokes and things that you can reference in order to keep people laughing and keep people engaged. And so it's been really fun to take both of those sets of referential cultures and put them together because it ends up creating a really funny environment where you have all sorts of audiences who get the jokes and are laughing with each other, and it keeps things light and funny and entertaining.
I'm really looking forward to being able to introduce more people in the queer community who may not be familiar with Dungeons & Dragons, or maybe introduce other people in the nerdy or geeky community to drag queens, because the two fit hand in hand really, really well. Geeks seem to love drag queens, and drag queens, when given the opportunity, tend to let their imaginations go wild, and that's what D&D is all about.
You get to live another person's life for a temporary moment. You get to feel this fantasy and live in this new world that you can create or that you can create with other people. And then at the end of the day, you can take it all off and walk away and live your life as though it never happened. But you know exactly what happened the night before when you got up into a costume and slayed some dragons.
Big thanks to the queens for sharing. My experience with the game is similar to theirs. I'd never played until we started doing our live shows. I thought it was just not for me. But we learned to play together, and now it means a lot that we can bring this game to audiences who might never have otherwise experienced drag or D&D, and certainly not both together. If you want more drag queens playing D&D, we're making a podcast based on our live shows. We're kickstarting now to pay for performers, art, music, and equipment. Head over to queensofadventure.com to join us in bringing the podcast to life. And keep your eyes on this channel for more LGBTQ videos. I'm working on the next episode in my Culture Cruise series, where I talk about queer movies, TV, games, and more. As always, you can get in touch with me at Matt Baum. Thanks for watching. Now, sissy that roll.
Ooh, 19. Natural 20, motherfucker. Yeah.
You don't realize how wet it makes me to hear Arsene Nikki scream, "Natural 20, bitches!"